Hey guys, Sean C. here. My video for my picks for the best and worst movies of 2016. Of course, these are just my picks for best and worst movies, and sometimes the movies I pick for best movies are kind of the way I pick them, or kind of like ones that I feel like movies that kind of resonate with me. I really thought about a lot after I watched them. I feel like they're, movies that I'm going to go and watch again, or just movies that I just really, really loved all around. Of course, though, then I did on here movies that are worth checking out, which are movies that are kind of like, of course, there's lots and lots of movies that are worth checking out this year, but in 2016, but I picked the kind of ones that maybe were a little overlooked, or ones that I say you guys have definitely got to go and watch. And then I picked, I did the worst movies, of course, and then I did the best worst movies, or basically, that are bad movies that are like good movies, like terrible movies that have fun aspects to them, and that's kind of what makes them good. Kind of like a movie like Troll 2, which is they call the best worst movie, because it's a movie that's awful, but it's fun to watch because of that, and that's what kind of makes the movie, amazing. And then I also picked movies that I found, kind of to be very disappointing movies of the year. Just like things about them I was really waiting for them, or really excited about them, and they just really disappointed me all around. They're not the worst movies, just more like really disappointing films. Now, the first movie I picked for best movie of 2016 is The Green Room, starring Anton Yelchin, Imogen Poots, and Patrick Stewart, and it's basically, though, about a group of these kids that are going to perform at this concert place. It's in this really dive bar. They really need money because they're kind of traveling across the country, going from tour to tour and place to place, and trying to basically just getting gas money, to keep driving around. And they go and perform at this bar that turns out to be this neo-Nazi bar, and they end up witnessing this girl that was killed there, and they end up locking themselves in the green room because they know that since they saw what had happened there, they're going to get probably killed themselves. So they lock themselves in while all the neo-Nazis are out there trying to get in, and it's kind of them trying to figure out how they're going to get out of there and what they're going to do. But it was such a great movie, probably my favorite movie of all time of this year. The next one is a movie that I really like called Hell or High Water, and I know that's gotten some Golden Globe nominations for that movie, and Jeff Bridges got nominated. That was just such a great movie, like a real gritty, movie about them, these two brothers that are going around robbing these banks, and Jeff Bridges' character is kind of trying to track them down. Right, he's kind of going to be the big thing he does before he retires. He wants to kind of catch these two guys or whoever it is in charge of, robbing all these banks. The next one for animated movies, this was definitely one that I thought was just a really fun animated movie, and it was The Secret Life of Pets. I don't know, for some reason I really liked that movie a lot, and it was just a really well done animated movie. And some animated movies are kind of like really, really, really kiddish, and I feel like if you're older you really can't watch them or really appreciate them. That movie to me was just a fun film, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of Homeward Bound too, because it was kind of like those animals in the city lost in the San Francisco, and it sort of had that kind of vibe to that. The next one too is the Neon Demon, starring L.A. Fanning, which I thought was, the director of that movie did, Drive and Only God Forgives. And out of all of those movies that he's done a couple other ones as well. I think that's actually my favorite movie. Keanu Reeves has a little part in the movie, and he's like this real sleazy, pervy guy who runs the hotel that L.A. Fanning is staying at. And he's a real heinous character in it, but it's kind of about L.A. Fanning going into the modeling industry and like the really dark side and the weird characters that she comes across, and it's done and filmed very much like a Dario Argento movie with the lighting and the color schemes and everything. Just a very cool movie. The next one is the Daniel Radcliffe movie called Swiss Army Man. Really great movie about Paul Dano, trapped on this island. He's really depressed. He's about to kill himself, and then he sees this body wash up ashore, on the beach, and it's Daniel Radcliffe is this corpse, and the corpse is like laying there, and then the corpse starts talking to him, and the corpse is farting and doing all these weird things, and it's just a very deep, weird movie with some weird stuff going on in it, and these amazing sequences of like them acting like they're driving around this bus and stuff, and they make all these weird type things. It's just such a strange movie. The next one is a Kate Winslet movie, which, this movie, though, came out in other countries, I think in 2015, but it only recently came out it came out in 2016 though in the U.S. and this one is called The Dressmaker, and it's Kate Winslet as this woman who comes back to this small town where she hadn't been since she was a kid, and she was blamed for murdering this boy, and she has no recollection of this happening, and says, I don't feel like I could have killed anybody, but she feels like she's kind of cursed in her life because of this. So she goes back to try and reconnect with her mother, and her mother totally forgot who she is because it's been so many years since she's been back. And I don't know, just a really weird, dark movie, really, and it's really pretty funny stuff as well. The next one I picked was Don't Breathe, which was really about these kids that go and rob this blind man, and because they trying to make this one big score to get out of Detroit. It kind of reminded me a little bit the idea of the robbing and stuff, a little bit of People Under the Stairs. But of course, they go there thinking this is going to be this easy thing to rob this blind guy, and of course, it ends up being this absolute nightmare because this guy is ex-military and is basically kind of hunting them down in the house, and there's all kinds of weird twists and stuff going on. That was definitely one of the best horror movies this year. The next one I picked was American Honey, which stars Shia LaBeouf, and it's kind of a movie in the style of a movie like Gummo and Kids and something like that. It's about this girl who lives out in this small town, doesn't really have any money. She's taking care of her younger sister, brother and sister. She really wants to get away from all this. And Shia LaBeouf kind of says, oh, why? Because she kind of likes him, and she's Shia LaBeouf's why don't you come with me? I sell these magazine subscriptions, and they go around the country selling these magazine subscriptions, and Shia LaBeouf's a real shyster guy trying to convince people to buy them. It's just a really weird road movie, really well done, really well acted. Definitely my favorite this year. The next one is a movie that Mel Gibson directed, which actually he did a really, really good job in this movie. Andrew Garfield was amazing in this film as well, and it's called Hacksaw Ridge, and it's basically about this guy who went to the war, and he didn't want to hold a gun because he didn't believe in killing people or having weapons and things like that. So he goes there, but he actually, even though he didn't have this weapon, he saved all these people from the battlefield, and that's sort of what it is what he did there, is saving all these people. It was a true story. This one, a lot of people are going to be like, why is this on there? But I love, the movies that Jared Hess directs. He did Nacho Libre, Napoleon Dynamite, Don Verdine, I think. I like his movies. His movies are movies that after I watch them, I can go and watch them again. Right afterwards, they're just really ridiculous. And this stars, Zach Galifianakis. Yeah, I think it was Zach. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Zach Galifianakis. And it's basically though, he's this really weird guy. He's got really weird hairdo in the movie, and he's kind of going around trying to rob this bank, and he's hiding out in these weird disguises. It's just such a strange movie. And you're never gonna look at Powder, Powder the same again, because the scene of him powdering his nuts. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I don't know. I really love that movie. Another animated movie that I really liked this year was Zootopia. Just a really, really fun film. And the other one I picked was the, Tim Burton movie, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which kind of got a little underrated, but, to me, it was the most Tim Burton-y film in a really, really long time. It really had the classic Tim Burton vibe with the look and the style, and even some stop-motion animation a little bit in it, or something done in the style of stop-motion. The other one that I picked was the Kristen Stewart, Jesse Eisenberg movie that Woody Allen directed, which is one of the Woody Allen ones. It's kind of weird with Woody Allen movies. Some Woody Allen movies that he does get all this attention, everyone talks about them, everybody loves them, and other ones, they kind of go under the radar and no one really talks about them. And this is kind of one of the ones that really nobody talked about, and it was Cafe Society, which I really liked it a lot. And it's basically about Jesse Eisenberg going to work for I think it was his uncle, and he's a Hollywood kind of agent type guy, and Kristen Stewart is his secretary, and he kind of has this relationship with her. By the same time, the uncle has a relationship with Kristen Stewart as well, and they're not telling each other. It's a really awkward thing going on. The next one I picked was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which is sort of the Harry Potter prequel. Not exactly. It's kind of in a totally different... It's in the same universe, sort of, but it's not really connected at all. But it's basically, though, the... Freddie Hyman, when I don't have the boxes, I always mess up the names and stuff, but he basically goes to New York to try and get this certain type of species because he collects all these kind of weird animals, these weird animals that nobody really knows about, these creatures and stuff, and keeps them inside of his bag, in his suitcase bag thing. And he goes there, and of course, though, some of the creatures that he has in his bag get loose in the city, and it's him trying to go and after them and try and collect them. The next one I picked was another Kristen Stewart movie called Equals, which I feel like another movie that hardly anyone saw, and it's like set in this like world where everyone is kind of like asexual, and they don't even know really what sex is. They kind of just go around in life, and they have something done to them, so they don't really remember anything. They kind of just go around in life and really don't do anything. They just kind of do their work, and like don't know anything about love or relationships or anything. And something ends up happening, and the two of the people in that start to kind of like have this go away, and they start to kind of fall in love, and it's kind of them. And it's a very depressing movie, definitely in the kind of vibe of like a movie like Gattaca. And below this video too, I'm gonna have a list of all these things so you can see, because I'm not putting the posters because they always get copyright when you use the posters. The next one I picked is a really good horror movie, Lights Out, which was actually one of those horror movies that I think was probably one of the creepiest ones this year. It was basically, though, like that this one girl whose mother has always been haunted by this weird girl that was like a friend of hers, and like something is going on, and like this girl starts seeing these people popping up, and like basically they can only come and catch you or kill you or attack you when it's dark or the lights are out. That's why it's Lights Out. So she's like always trying to keep the lights on, and is trying to like figure out what's going on and what happened to with her mother with this girl and why they're after her. The other one I picked, which is one I keep thinking about this movie, and some people didn't like this movie. I think it was made for chiller. It's called Fender Bender. I actually really thought that was a great slasher movie. It's this guy who basically like picks up random people when he's driving around with his car, and he kind of goes, okay, that's the person I'm gonna go and kill. And it's basically this one girl that ends up, because he basically hits his car into somebody and goes, "Oh, I hit them," and then he exchanges their insurance and all that stuff, so he gets their address and name and everything. So the person that he hit, he gets all that information, and that night he goes to their house and like plans to kill them, and that's sort of what it is. And it's done like a real old school slasher movie with a real '80s feel to the movie, and really really great synth music. Shout Factory, Scream Factory line put the movie out a couple months back, but that was one that I really really liked a lot. The next one I picked, and even though this movie was a downer, to me it was very, very sad. I really liked it, and it's Star Wars Rogue One. I thought that it was actually, to me, I really did like it a lot. I don't think it was as good as The Force Awakens, but still for a prequel to before Part 4, I really thought that it was a pretty cool movie. And like I said, though, it really was a downer, though. The next one I picked was Deadpool, which I think, it comes to me with like picking superhero movies. I don't always love that many superhero movies. I always like, usually, exception of the new Batman movies, I always really like Batman. I really usually like Spider-Man. But Deadpool, though, I really liked that it was like one of the first R-rated kind of superhero movies. They kind of didn't hold back, and they kind of went for it, and I kind of like that, and hopefully they do more things like that. I think the Wolverine, the Logan movie, I think is going to be rated R. They're talking about it, but that's one of those things we'll see if they actually go with that or not. The other one I picked is another very creepy horror movie called The Witch, which is like this family set in like the Puritan times, and they think this family has like connected to witches, and the one kid ends up getting taken out into the woods, and they blame the one daughter. It's just a very very creepy movie. Some people have a hard time understanding it because of the real like Puritan-y old time kind of accents and stuff in it, but it's sort of like mumbled up a little bit, but I could still pick it up fine. The other one I picked was 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's John Goodman. I don't know. The movie, like the end of the movie, kind of ruined it a little bit. But the stuff of John Goodman taking this girl, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, and saying that he saved her, and you're kind of wondering, did he save her? Is he keeping her kidnapped? Is he nuts? And he takes her down to his bunker, and it's just, I don't know, I really liked that movie a lot. I thought it was a really good movie. Other one I picked was a movie called Der Bunker, which is such a strange movie about this kid who goes to stay at this weird house. It's like in a bunker underground, and there's this really like weird kid there who looks like he's like 30 something, and he's like acting like he's a kid, and he's like sort of nuts, and he won't like learn anything, and he's real stupid, and the parents can't teach him anything. So they have this kid who goes to stay there while he's at college, like working on his assignments and all this stuff to kind of help teach this kid, and it's really peculiar. The other one I picked was Hardcore Henry, which is not the greatest movie, but I actually really liked the way it was filmed. It was all filmed like, first person, and, just some really cool aspects, and I really liked some of like the stuff at the end. I don't know, I just thought it was a really cool movie. And the last one I picked for the best movies, so I picked 24 total, was Into the Forest, a, Ellen Page movie with her and her sister living out in the woods where the end of the world is going on around them. Just a weird take on the whole thing about them trying to survive out there. And originally, in the beginning of the movie, they were with their father. And about 20 minutes in the movie, the father has this terrible accident and dies. And they're sort of stuck out there. And they only have a little bit of gas. And they don't really know what to do. And it comes with all these kind of problems. Now, these are ones, I'm just going to go through these quicker, that are ones that are worth checking out. The first one is that I'd say is worth checking out is the movie, a Nicolas Cage movie with Elijah Wood that a lot of people probably did not see, called The Trust, about these guys that are going to rob this bank and they really don't know what they're doing at all, but really pretty cool movie. Other one I picked is a movie that James Franco produced called Goat, which is like a movie about high school, a college bullying in fraternities and kind of the hazing rituals. Just a crazy film. Other one I picked for animated movies, which wasn't my favorite, but I feel like probably not as many people saw this movie, and I thought it was actually a pretty fun film, and it was Trolls. I don't know, for some reason I really thought it was just a fun movie. Other one I picked, which is almost one of my favorites, and the only thing with this one is it came out this year in the U.S., but I think it came out other places in 2015. But this movie was called Tale of Tales. So they're really, a crazy R-rated like fairy tale type film. Just a very strange movie. Really like that. Another one I picked for an anthology one. It was a pretty cool movie called Southbound, which had some really pretty cool segments in it. Because a lot of times when it comes to like anthology movies, like some of the segments are horrible and some are amazing. With this one, they were all pretty much equal. And like the one with the hospital, I thought was one of the best ones. The other one I picked here was a Woody Harrelson movie with Liam Hemsworth called The Duel, which is a weird Western movie with Woody Harrelson is this really crazy, strange guy, and he's like these tattoos on his face and stuff, little teeny tattoos, and he had his shaved head down. He kind of looked a little bit like it was kind of like him flashing back to the way he acted in Natural Born Killers a little bit. Another one that I picked for ones that are worth checking out, or a movie called Colonia with Emma Thompson. I think it was Emma Watson. No, Emma Watson, the movie called Colonia, with her going to try and find her boyfriend. He's living in, like, taken to this weird, like, religious commune place, and there's some really heinous, strange stuff going on there. This is one that nobody liked, but I think it's worth watching, at least checking out. It's called Disappointments Room. With Kate Beckinsale going to stay, moving into this house with her husband and his kid after she had this terrible accident. Something happened to one of the kids, and she finds this weird room upstairs, and then weird stuff starts to happen in the house. The other one, this is a Jeremy Sisto movie, which nobody watched, called The Other Side of the Door, and it was actually kind of creepy. The one kid dies, and they kind of bring him back from the dead by going to this like Indian burial ground and writing something on the ground or something like that. But they say don't open up the door, but she opened the door up, and then this kid's like haunting them. The other one I picked was a movie called The Boy, which is basically this girl who goes to England to be the nanny, and she doesn't know until she gets here that she's being the nanny for this this doll of this boy that died years before. And when she's there, like weird stuff starts to happen to her. It has like some twists and stuff like that. And there's like one movie that I always talk about that was kind of like a movie from the 70s I really like, and kind of had that same vibe to it. The other one I picked was a really ridiculous movie called The Bronze. So it's another one I don't think that many people saw, about this Olympic medalist gymnast, and she kind of like, after that happened, like 10 years later, she's kind of a wash up and doesn't really do anything. She sits around the house all day and just eats food and doesn't really do anything. And for one reason or another, she gets forced to train this girl to get out of the house and stuff, and she's real terrible training, and it's just a really ridiculous movie. Other one I picked was an Emma Roberts movie called Nerve, which was basically like this weird game where you get dared by people online to do all these things, and it's her and Dave Franco, and they're competing against each other and like working together and stuff in this game. And this is an Aaron Eckhart movie, which nobody saw too, called Incarnate. And like, I actually ended up thinking that was actually kind of a cool, creepy movie about going into, instead of like, exercising people, he goes into people that are possessed into their minds, and then kind of tries to, get them out and get that, and like the way they keep people possessed and stuff, and he has a way of getting people unpossessed. It's an interesting thing. Other one I picked was Middle School, the worst years of my life. That's basically, about this kid who goes to middle school, and it's like the first, he basically gets moved around and around and around to schools because he keeps on being bad and like getting kicked out. It's the last school he can go to, and he's at this school, and he ends up having to, the one, he like draws all these pictures in his book, and the principal is like the stickler for rules and destroys his book, so he makes it his plan to kind of go and break all the rules in this principal's book. Another one I picked was, this is about the Columbine shooting, about the one girl who ended up, you know, um, it's kind of question if how it happened and anything, but basically though, the guys that from there were the kids who were shooting up the school, they said to her, do you believe in God? And she's the one that said yes, and she ended up getting killed. It's basically her story about, the whole thing, and just kind of her in the school and how she helped people. It was a very, very well done movie, though. The other one I picked that I feel like not a lot of people watch was Morgan, which I don't know, I like a kind of a creepy, weird movie about, kind of like Ex Machina, though, about Kate Mara's character going to this weird, for like treatment kind of place where they're doing all these experiments, and there's this girl there, the same actress from the movie The Witch, and she's there, and everyone's kind of like obsessed with her. So she has to see if this is a viable experiment, and she's worth keeping around, or if she should be terminated. And the other one I picked was a comedy spoof movie, which I thought was a really funny movie, and some really funny lines in it. The movie was called Meet the Blacks, and I don't know, I just thought it was a very, Omar Epps is in the movie, just a very, very funny, ridiculous movie. Now, these are the ones I picked for the worst movies of the year. The first one I picked was the Samuel L. Jackson movie called The Cell, which was like about the cell phones killing everybody, and Stephen King wrote the movie, and it was just a big mess of a movie, and I really did not. I mean, I know it was like embarrassing. It was almost so bad it's good, but it was just more embarrassingly bad. The other one I picked for worst movie was Norm of the North, with I think it was Rob Schneider was in this movie, and it was about this like polar bear that gets like taken from a city into the city, and he goes and messes around the city, and it had horrifically bad animation. And I was the only person in the theater with my brother, and like we were watching the movie, and it had like these stupid scenes in it, so I was like getting up in the theater, dancing down the aisles like a fool, because it was one of those sort of stupid ass movies. And I was sort of doing some ridiculous dancing and stuff in it because it was just awful. Other one I picked that I just really did not care much for, because I really liked the first movie. The second one just was not that great. It had this real forced thing to it, and that was Ride Along 2. I just did not care much for that movie. Other one I picked was the Jackie Chan movie with Johnny Knoxville, Skip Trace. That was a movie that how great Rush Hour was with Jackie Chan, like a buddy comedy kind of movie. This one just failed so bad. There was no chemistry at all with Jackie Chan and Johnny Knoxville. Just not a great movie. Another one I picked for worst movie was Dirty Grandpa, which was just sort of embarrassing. They did that Mike and Steve Need Wedding Dates, was almost like the similar type movie. I felt like that was a funnier movie. I really love Robert De Niro, but that movie was just like sort of embarrassing. I mean, it's watchable, but it really wasn't a great movie. Other one I picked was a Melissa McCarthy movie, which I didn't care for, was The Boss. Some of those Melissa McCarthy movies sometimes come across as a little bit cringy. And that one and Tammy and some of those ones, I don't know, to me, I just found that movie The Boss to be pretty cringy, and I just didn't care much for it. Other one I picked, and this movie kind of got mixed reviews, but I watched it. I had a hard time getting through it. I was not that into it at all. I don't like movies about that period too much. Sometimes I do. It really depends. And this movie was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I don't know. I just did not care for that. Another one I picked was The Darkness. That was a horror movie about this kid that picks up these stones in an Indian burial ground, and then he gets haunted and weird stuff starts happening in the house, and the kid's autistic, so they think that he's just having reactions to his not taking the right type of medication, and it's this whole thing going on. It's just a weird movie, and they had this stuff about the one girl throwing up and keeping it under the bed, and they didn't explain it at all. Had these really weird things. It was sort of best worst movie, but it's one I would watch again, but in a weird it was just not great, especially because the director did movies that I really liked, the Wolf Creek films, and it just wasn't at all like that. Other one I picked for worst movie was Bad Moms, which I'm sure some people liked, but I don't know. I don't like some of those kind of movies when you're trying to act super crazy and cringy and stuff, and just I don't know, these moms are Mila Kunis is kind of tired of being a good mom, so she kind of goes crazy and starts acting nuts and not paying attention to the kids and all that. The other one was Office Christmas Party. That I did not care much for that movie at all, to be honest. It's a watchable movie, but I don't know. It's hard for me to pick worst movies because me, I kind of like everything. But if I pick them as worst, they're really just ones I feel like I'm not really going to watch that much again. And the last one I picked for worst movie was the Cabin Fever remake. Yeah, that was pretty much a shot-for-shot remake. They added some gore and added a few things to it, but the original Cabin Fever was so good with the casting, everybody in it, the whole vibe of the movie. The new one just did not. I don't know. I would rather they just made another sequel, to be honest. I mean, I don't really mind those sequels. Now these are the best worst movies. The movies that are so bad they're good, like watchably funny. And the first one I picked was Warcraft. I mean that was very cringy. That movie, there was some really cringy aspects to it, but I really thought it was just a fun movie. I never played the games in my life, so I think maybe if I played the games, I would be like, oh, I don't like this. You know what I mean? But like I really liked it. Other one I picked for best worst movie was The Forest, about the girl looking for her sister in the forest in Japan, the suicide forest, and she goes out there, gets herself trapped and starts seeing things, all this weird stuff. The other one I picked for the best worst was The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck plays this guy who's autistic, and he kind of has all these math skills and all these skills for finding things. But like he's doing some really weird stuff in it, like he's like a sniper man, kills people, but then he's like rubbing this stick up his leg in this really weird way with this loud rock music, and he was like torturing his leg. I don't know. Like once you've seen that scene, yeah, it slightly cancels out some other really good Ben Affleck movies. If you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. That rubbing the thing up his leg was very peculiar. The other one I picked for best worst was Yoga Hosers. Kevin Smith's movie. Had his, the two girls that are in, his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter working at this, convenience store, and these sausage monsters coming after them. They have to try and stop them, and Johnny Depp's in the movie playing this cringy, like Inspector Clouseau kind of character. Like I like that character, but it was just a very strange movie, really bad CGI, but it was all purposely done, though I'm pretty sure. The other one I picked, which was very, very, very cringy, it was watchable, but it's best worst movie for this reason. And it had Oliver Platt in it, and he kind of reminded me of Brendan Mitchell, to be honest, because he was sitting at the computer in this way with these glasses. If Wet Movie. I don't know, like I almost would like to do a whole spoof of Oliver Platt scenes with Brendan doing it, because like they had the similar like way of talking on the camera and stuff. But it's a movie called Shut In, and that movie, it was really bad, and it was like this kid who gets in this accident and ends up in a wheelchair, and the mom has to take care of him, and he doesn't move or anything, and there's some really odd twists that happen in it. And the last one I picked for best worst movie is Independence Day Resurgence. Will Smith didn't do that one. I think he probably should have, but the thing is, though, it was not great, but it was a fun watch. And the one old guy that woke up from the coma was the best part of the movie. And he woke up at one point, and he's in his underpants. He's like to his boyfriend, going, "Why didn't you tell me my butt was out?" And it's just some like really funny scenes in it. Now these are the last ones here are the movies that I thought were disappointing movies. The first one that I found to be disappointing was Suicide Squad. It was one, from the trailers. Like the first trailer for that movie looked so cool. Really thought it was going to be a cool movie. I thought it was going to be more of an R-rated type movie, or like one where, like with Batman and Superman, where they're going to release like an R-rated cut. But I just found it to be, it's watchable and everything, but it's kind of like you could tell. I know the movie had a lot of reshoots and a lot of things that were recut and changed all around and stuff. And I think that kind of really messed up the movie. And they cut a lot of the Joker out of the film. I feel like they're probably going to do a Joker movie, like its own movie. I don't know if Jared Leto will do it after like the whole way it went with this. I know they're going to do a Harley Quinn movie, so maybe he's going to be in some of that. The other one I thought was disappointing was Zoolander 2. It wasn't horrific, but I really loved the first Zoolander movie. The second one just did not work too much at all to me. Other one, of course, was Ghostbusters. That, it's watchable. But, I feel like, a year from now, no one's ever going to say anything about it again. I really do wonder if they're going to do more of them. I really don't know. Other one, which I just saw, and I found disappointing. I found myself thinking about the movie a lot, afterwards, but it wasn't, from the trailers and what I was really hoping it was going to be a really, really good movie, and I was disappointed with it quite a bit. It was Passengers. It still was fine. It's worth seeing, but, like, Passengers, like, I didn't feel like it really was as cool as it was, and I felt like the trailers were kind of making it seem one way, and then within 5 minutes of the movie you found it was a different way, and like it just didn't use all the kind of stuff it could have, I don't feel like. The other one I picked was Neighbors 2, another one I really thought the first movie was a really funny movie. The second one was just kind of like that. It had that real sequel type feel to it that just kind of they were trying too hard with it, and it just didn't hit as much as the first one. And the last one, this is a Marvel one that I didn't, there's actually two other ones that I didn't feel like I liked as much as I thought I was, and that was Doctor Strange. I mean, it was fine, but like there's something about it I just did not care too much for it, and like halfway through it I was kind of like sort of done with it. And like I haven't had that reaction to many other Marvel movies. It was just that one. I just sort of was like done with it after a bit. And the last two ones was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Show. That one, I don't know, for an Ang Lee movie, I've always really liked his movies. Ice Storm, Brokeback Mountain. This one, it kept on misfiring in a lot of places, and it sort of seemed sort of cheap in a couple aspects. I don't know why. I know it was actually shot originally like in 3D and stuff, and I don't think it ever even got released in 3D. I liked Vin Diesel in the movie. Vin Diesel played this like real nice kind of guy in it, and it was like a really different role for him. But like, I did not like it that much. I think I'd watch it again though to see like the behind the scenes and stuff about how they made it, but it didn't have as much to it as I was hoping. And the last one I picked that I thought was a little disappointing was Sausage Party. Like, I was like, another one that I was kind of had heard them talking about that movie for years and years, because it was an animated movie that Seth Rogen was always talking about on Howard Stern and other interview shows, and I think probably like 4 or 5 years before it ever even came out, because they were working on it like little by little. I just felt that was like a little disappointing. But below this video, guys, let me know what some of your picks were, favorite movies of the year were, what movies you guys thought were your least favorite, what some of the ones you thought were disappointing, and what you thought about my picks as well. Anyway, though, guys, thanks for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.